Kings make it to the Western Conference Final, or will the Kansas City Kings stay alive? Pull up a chair, everybody, and you'll find out. It's playoff fever time again on CBS. From Phoenix, Arizona, we bring you Game 5 of the Western Conference Semifinal, Kansas City against Phoenix. Good evening, everybody. I'm Glenn Musburger. The storyline here at Phoenix tonight is very simple. If Phoenix wins, they will play Seattle for the Western Conference Championship. If Kansas City wins, this series goes back to Kansas City. And I want to pass along a program reminder for Sunday because I know with the late developments, it's hard to get our schedule into the papers and the TV guides. But on Sunday afternoon, CBS will bring you an NBA doubleheader. We will start it off with Game 6, Philadelphia hosting San Antonio, and the doubleheader game, Game 7, Washington against Atlanta. And of course, you'll also get to see Phoenix and Kansas City if Kansas City wins. That series so far looks like this. It began with the Phoenix Suns taking a lead as we study the scores right now up to date. 102-99. Then in Game 2, back in Kansas City, the Kings evened the series. It moved back to the campus of Arizona State. Game 3, it was 108-93 Phoenix. Game 4 was the breakthrough game. In Kansas City, the Suns took the 3-1 lead that they hold tonight. Some key individuals to keep in mind. On the left-hand side is Gar Hurd of the Suns. He started off going 2 of 6, then 2 of 7, back to 2 of 6. In Game of 4, he hit 9 of 12 from the floor. Scotty Wedman has been magnificent. He has played Walter Davis dead even. Two players who are big question marks here tonight would be Phil Ford of Kansas City on the right is hitting only 29% from the floor. Westphal had only a 2-point game in Game 3. He then came back with a 26-point outing. Now, how will the Kansas City Kings match up tonight, and what do they have in mind? Working with me are Rick Barry and Hot Rod Hundley. Let's go to Rick now.
I'm with Cotton Fitzsimmons, coach of the Kansas City Kings, and you've done a great job with this team, Cotton. I know you've been in these tough situations before. You've got a few changes for the Suns. What are they?
Well, I think we've got to open the ball game up, even though it's a dangerous thing to do with a good club like the Suns, the way they run. But above all, we got to bring our offense out a lot higher to try to open it up more for Phil Ford so they won't jam the middle, Rick.
Well, if you're going to run, that means you have to use your bench a little bit more, and they have not been too productive.
I think they'll all be in there, though, before the first quarter's probably over.
Well, one thing I know that you're leading in here, you know you're having a tough time, is you're sure doing a heck of a job dressing against John McLeod. And speaking of John McLeod, let's go to Hot Rod Hundley with the coach of the Suns.
John, you've had 38 points off your last game victory number 3 off the fast break, and I know you want to win again tonight.
Rod, we'd like to run. I think it's very important. It certainly picks up the pace of the game. The first 4 games that were not running games, but we were able to run the other night against Kansas City, and hopefully tonight we'll be able to do the same thing.
A guy that played great for you in college, Gar Hurd, had his biggest moment.
Gar is a big play player, Rod, as I've said, and a big game player, and we'd like to see him come back and do it again tonight.
All right, good luck to you, John. Thank you. All right, for the introduction of starting lineups, let's go to Brent.
Here they are. Lacey, Ford, and Birdsong matched against Davis, Hurd, Adams, Buse, and Westphal. Back with a tip-off in a moment.
NBA on CBS. Tonight's playoff game is sponsored by the Uniroyal Tire Company, makers of the Steelers steel-belted radial tire. Light beer, everything you always wanted in a beer, and less. And by Quaker State. Quaker State helps cars last.
The officials for tonight's fifth game of this Western Conference semifinal, Joe Gashu, Lee Jones, and Jack Madden, and Tommy Nunez will be the alternate. He's sitting at the scorer's table. Jack Madden will toss it up, and we'll be underway. Alvan Adams on the left-hand side will jump it up against Sam Lacey. He'll be walking into your screen right there, number 44. That has been pretty much of a standoff, too, through 4 games. Lacey working against the quicker Adams has done a good job. It's controlled by Kansas City. Otis Birdsong. And the Kings go up by 2. Westphal controlling the ball. Working with Buse, who has performed so well defensively against Phil Ford. It'll come through Adams, an outstanding passing center. Here's Davis. Wedman took the fake. Very surprised to see Scotty Wedman take that fake, but did you see Kansas City trying to advance the ball? Quickly, Phil Ford, but he is cut off. No easy penetration. Ford saves it to Wedman. Shot clock inside of 10 seconds, and on the steal, here comes Buse. No basket and no fouling. Garherd hustles down the loose ball for John McLeod. Adams just short. Robinzine, quick outlet to Birdsong. There's Westphal. No easy basket. Taken down by Adams. Outlet now to Davis as both teams, with Westphal does not.
One advantage that the Phoenix Suns have is a player like Walt Davis, the forward, can take the middle as he did on that play, and Westphal filled in on the wing and got the layup.
Jump shot by Wedman. Quickly, Davis applies pressure to Wedman. What a duel that has been so far through 4 games. Quick move. That's just a great fake that time by Walter Davis. There's the play again. Watch him make the quick fake. He caught Wedman looking and spun the opposite way. Just great individual effort. Kansas City trails 3-1. They must win or the series is over. Lacey on the turnover. Lead to Westphal. He'll put it in. Westphal with 4 and Davis with 4. They generally carry the scoring burden for John McLeod and the Suns. Bird goes with Robinzine. Lacey far out to the basket. Ford a cutter that time. Bird came over, and Lacey with an offensive rebound drew the foul. But Garherd, with good defense, forced Phil Ford out of what could have been an easy layup.
There's the shot that time. Garherd came over to help from the weak side, but you could see that Sam Lacey was way outside trying to get the offense out.
It's 8-4 Phoenix. And it should be the best day of the season so far on CBS for the NBA. We'll start off that doubleheader with Philadelphia-San Antonio in Philadelphia. Game 6, Billy C. and the 76ers must win, or the San Antonio Spurs go to the Eastern Conference Final. Then the doubleheader game from Landover, Maryland. The world champion Washington Bullets have been pushed to the wall by the Atlanta Hawks. And Hubie Brown and Dick Motta go at it one more time, just as John McLeod and Cotton Fitzsimmons are going at it here in Phoenix tonight, Game 5. Lacey just hit a free throw, missed that one, and Hurd to the rebound. 8-5, 9:41 first period.
Suns have yet to commit a turnover, and Kansas City has 2, and both times it's led to a basket for Phoenix.
Adams looking for the man. A lazy and a bad pass that time. Lead to Ford, and are they cutting off the middle? No easy penetration. Traveling violation. On the turnover, it goes to Sun. Don Buse controlling the ball. Smart, heady player. Penetrates. Short on the layup. Robinzine out of DePaul and Ray Myers, School of Basketball. Jump shot Ford.
That should do a lot for his confidence. It's always nice to hit that first shot, especially when things haven't been going well for you.
They've been averaging 16 a game, and it dropped to 9 in the playoffs with Phoenix.
Davis looks in, and there's Gar Hurd with that familiar headband, that high arching turnaround. Did not hit his first shot. He's coming off a 9-12 game. Years forward, working for the penetration. High, missed that time. Adams, outlet is out. Here's Davis, he can fly. And that was just pure speed that time. Walter Davis just flew by Scotty Wedman, who's a great defensive player right there. He put on the afterburners, got the half step. Wedman chasing after him in an attempt to get it. Didn't look like he really touched him. A little gift that time for Walter getting the free throw.
Great hand fly.
Rick and Hot Rod, an excellent replay that time. We caught the play-by-play in a different angle, down low. You could see exactly what Rick Berry was speaking about, that speed as Davis turned the corner and got to the hole. So Tony Verner's off to a good start, too. Here's Ford, number 1, yo-yoing the ball now. Again, we'll show you the relationship of Buse. He's giving Ford the outside when he comes to the top of the circle. Wedman muscles and Bird stumps it. Loose ball. Kings have got it back. Otis, Birdsong to the right, and here's Wedman.
Here's Wedman driving to the right side. They switch on him. Buse there along with Davis. Hurd knocks it down, and it's 3, and they pick it up.
Suns lead it by 2. 11-9. Turnover. And Lacey popped out on the bad pass. Kings can tie it. Lacey far out from the basket. Here's Robinzine for travel. Again, they have turned the ball over here in the first period.
Robinzine has really been having a problem. He had 2 for 10 the last game, and as Scott Fitzsimmons, his coach, said those are most important because he is shooting no further out than 8 or 9 feet from the hoop.
Deflected. Davis ran it down in the corner. Looks in on Wedman. Baseline wasn't there. Forced back to the outside, around the perimeter. They work to the left side against the defense. Buse with a spinner. Got it out of bounds by Robinzine. Gar Hurd will inbound it. Adams is set down low in case, but they cut the other way, and Westphal faked and spun back to the glass. Missed the layup shot. A pretty inbounds play worked by the Suns that failed. Deflected. Birdsong out of bounds. It'll go back to the Suns. That is costly, Rick. The Kings need a shot when they come down.
No question, as you see Don Buse on this last play playing the defense. Look at him. Good position. The ball's a little too low. Birdsong couldn't pick it up, but the turnovers have been very costly here to Kansas City. Every time you turn it over, you miss that opportunity to score.
And prior to the start of our doubleheader Sunday on CBS, you will see Paul Westphal, whom you're looking at right now, team up with Gus Johnson, the former star of the Baltimore Bullets, and comedian David Steinberg, who's one of the biggest fans of the NBA on the West Coast. It's 3-on-3. A star such as Westphal with a former star and a celebrity. And if the celebrities don't get in the way, then the basketball players do a great job. 3-on-3 for the half hour prior to the doubleheader. It'll be Philadelphia, San Antonio, followed by Washington, Atlanta. And we hope you're with us. Westphal way short. Lacey looks for the outlet. Lead now. Back and forth they go. It's Birdsong. He won't. No.
Oh, a foul.
Ball down on the floor.
Cotton Fitzsimmons is complaining a little bit. He thought it should have been a continuation foul. The basket should have counted. But Joe Gashu ruled otherwise.
Wedman will inbound. We've had 7 turnovers so far. 4 against the Kings, 3 against the Suns. Birdsong.
Let's go leap and leaner. Just lead right into Westphal. Very tough shot to stop defensively.
Davis with 7 leads the Suns here early in the first period. Knocked away. He's got it again. And look at Ford. So frustrated by Buse. They're not giving him the easy layups. Ball is out of bounds.
Here's the last play. Now watch how Wedman gets picked off right here coming up. There's the screen by Hurd. That gives Davis the chance to receive the pass. Davis to the corner. Robinzine slow getting out. 2 points for Walter.
13-11. Suns come back. Marvelous screen that time, Rick. Adams jump pass inside, and Davis is going to work it low. Hits the side of the hoop, and Hurd is there. Foul. Lacey was one of the 2.
Let's walk Walter Davis on this play. Well, we see after the shot, Gar here just got good position inside. He's a fine offensive rebounder. Gets fouled on the return shot. Now let's look at the isolated. You see a good play that time by Walter Davis. He spun back away from Wedman. The pass was right there. But Scotty with good position on the defense. Walter couldn't get the shot in, but Hurd was there to help out.
You have never seen basketball any better than you're seeing it tonight. And this is just the start. Doubleheader Sunday. Ratings are coming up because of the playoffs. Philadelphia, San Antonio, followed by Washington, Atlanta. Hillman is now in. Bad pass. They have turned it over to the Suns. Buse to the trail man, Alvan Adams. Here's Westphal, puts it on the floor with that left hand, now wants to go to the spin. Birdsong was on it, and he traveled. They have forced another turnover. Now that is something that does not bother the Suns. They'll run up and down the floor. They'll turn it over time after time and just keep coming.
Westphal's been a little frustrated in the series with the exception of the last game. He had 26, but he's had a 10-point game and a 2-point game.
Traveling, still another turnover. And yes, but he is hitting 50% in the 4 games.
There's a play a moment ago. Hurd caught behind the screen. Birdsong takes the play to the right side. Down goes Westphal.
14-11. Suns up. Westphal picked up and he hits it. Goes to the glass.
Bad defense that time, Brett. The man guarding the man doing the screening should have jumped out and switched that time.
Jokishu with the foul. Westphal now with 6 points. A moment ago, I may have misled you when I said that it appeared that a foul was against Lacey. It was not. It was against Robinzine, who was in behind when Rick narrated that highlight. Lacey was the front man. So Lacey still does not have a foul. Darnell Hillman is in down low, and here he is. He can travel, and they've got a foul first. It could be on Gar Hurd, who is down spinning.
Let's watch Gar Hurd on defense. Here's the play this time. With the leg, he caught the man a little bit, jumps in the air, he comes down.
He walked.
It looked like he walked with the ball. He got away with that, so that was a break that time for Kansas City.
Ford holding it high. Buse there with him. Bill to the inside. Threw up an off-balance shot. Westphal now. Comes over to the left. Buse gives it back to Paul on the give and go. That's 8 points for Westphal. 9 points for Davis. We've got a timeout.
Very simple play there, just cutting through. Westphal, the defensive man was a step behind, and Buse spotted him right in for the layup to the left side. We got a timeout. 4:57 left, 18-11, Phoenix.
I hope you were watching the Sports Spectacular last Saturday when they began this 2-part broadcast on the Republic of China. They had some ping pong action that you didn't believe. And tomorrow they're going to have wushu martial arts. They've also got some mixed pairs gymnastics championships. Kirk Thomas was great last Saturday. That's tomorrow. Sunday, the NBA doubleheader on CBS. Philly and San Antonio, Washington and Atlanta, and Phil Ford was all alone and missed the shot. What a tough series this has been for the NBA's Rookie of the Year so far.
Phoenix defensively just drops back, and Buse is letting him have the outside shot. They're stopping him completely from penetrating, and it's been working successfully for Phoenix.
Birdsong puts it down on Westphal and comes up jumping. Hillman kept it in play. Hurd is off for the Suns, and here's Davis. All the way out. Buse.
That's the way the fast break was meant to be run.
That's his second assist, handling the middle, Walt Davis.
Now the Kings must dig in on offense as Wedman was coming up over the top. There was a foul, and it's number 2 against Buse. That tells it all. Westphal and Davis have scored all but 3 of the Suns' points. We are at 4:15 left in the first. Alvan Adams has not yet scored. Gar Hurd with a free throw, and Don Buse with a field goal. The man you're looking at right now is lucky to be alive. Scott Wedman, about a month and a half ago, suffered a serious automobile accident in Kansas City. He sheared off a tree, he sheared off a telephone pole, and he was thrown free of the car. Yet here he is, back, and he has been the outstanding player for the Kings so far. Alvan Scott, 14, had checked in. He just made the pass and cut underneath. Wedman switches on Westphal. They cut off the baseline, and on the turnover, it's Lacey. Wedman pops into the corner, and it's Birdsong, giving it up to Ford. Here's Lacey. Way outside. Wedman with an offensive rebound. Loose ball. Lacey jumps it into Hillman. He traveled.
That's the same move he made a moment ago when they gave him the foul. This time they caught him for traveling. Look at it again. Lacey went into the air, faked the shot, and dropped it down to Hillman. He'll take a little hop move here as he goes to the basket, and he's called for traveling. Alvan Scott had him covered all the way.
Bratz is working in the backcourt for Phoenix with Westphal. Adams is short. Quickly now, it is Ford looking for daylight. But again, the street is closed, and this time he jumped.
That's about the fifth traveling call against the Kings. Here we see the move this time as Ford comes in. You see the extra steps right there. Very good call by the officials. They're just trying a little bit too hard. They need to settle down just a little bit.
Fitzsimmons goes into the bench. McKinney is on the floor. Westphal got inside. Put it down. Goaltending is the call.
One of the differences in defense this time, we'll watch the play right here. The guards do not make the switch on the move. You see, McKinney was not in position to make a good move and switch. Phoenix came off switches most of the time.
Here's Lacey, popped out of Birdsong, maneuvering inside. He'll come to the free throw line on the foul against Bratz, number 23.
One of the things that Phoenix does so well is that on defense, the guards, as I mentioned, will switch on the cross when the guard's out high, but Garherd is probably one of the best forwards in the league at playing that tough weak side defense to come in to shut the middle off. Kansas City, like on the last play, was a little late getting over to help.
Joe Kramer in the lineup now for Phoenix, along with Chuck Robertson, his first appearance.
You can see Billy McKinney, number 25. He's checked in for Cotton Fitzsimmons. It's interesting about Westphal, that 2-point performance last Sunday followed a 10-point effort 2 days earlier. Kansas City obviously came into this series trying to shut off Paul Westphal, but trouble broke out in other places. This is not a one-man basketball team. And tonight, with Westphal going back into the scoring mode, they are just that much tougher.
Might add that Billy McKinney in the lineup for Kansas City plays a lot like Bill Ford. He was a free agent, and he's done a great job for this club all year long.
The steal on the lazy pass. Birdsong for the layup. 22-17, and Nash almost popped in and stole it. Knocked it out of bounds. Here's Westphal right to our left. Inbound to Bratz, out of Stanford. Smart guard. McKinney went for the foul, Bratz to the shot.
How smart he was there. As soon as that man hit the floor, he knew he was open and raised up and hit the jumper.
Lacey over the top of the circle. He's been looking outside. That's going to be a foul against Lacey. It's offense, his first.
Now the big man, tough time to be putting the ball on the floor from that far out. Bratz held his position. Takes the charge by Sam Lacey.
Bratz yo-yos it slowly, then puts a move on McKinney to the right corner. A yard for Kramer. Here he is, 50. Passes out of bounds. Not a good pass by Kramer.
But a good idea, because Paul Westphal had great position on his man, had him screened off, but the ball was thrown a little bit too far away from him.
McKinney goes down on the dribble. You can hear the PA announcement here in Phoenix. There is a whistle away from the ball. It's offense, and it's against Nash.
So 2 times in a row down the floor, they have offensive fouls, and they lose an opportunity to score 2 points. That's hurting them.
Number 31 from UCLA is Richard Washington. Did not play in Game 4 because of a troubled ankle. Back tonight, the truck is 21. Westphal. 12 points, first period. Paul Westphal.
One way to get out of a slump is shoot your way out of it. That's what Paul's been doing.
Nash bothered on the shot by Scott and scored it anyway. Phoenix's bench has been vastly superior to Kansas City so far in 4 games. Bratz.
Loose drops, volleyballs, Westphal. Cross to Kramer, and he's fouled.
Charging, and a little run into it. That should have been a good chance for him to get a basket. So Bratz keyed it when he tipped it to Westphal. But Kramer couldn't make his mind up, but traveled as he came in from the right side.
McKinney takes it back. On left, center of your screen, bottom, first period. Kansas City still looking for the right combination. Field forward still trying to snap out. Kramer switches over on McKinney. McKinney maneuvers. Hit and stolen. It was Bratz all the way. Cross-court pass. Westphal. Not that time. Washington is off with the outlet. Pull up by McKinney. They have their work cut out for them. Playing a running game with Phoenix is exactly what Phoenix would like them to do. So Kansas City Kings are going to have to play one of their better games to beat them at that game. Last shot time, first period. Westphal has been lethal. Birdsong must watch him. He'll try to get a screen. They go stop one-on-one. Again, that's the end of the first period. And again, the weak side was not there to help out. When that ball is on the far side of the floor, the opposite side defense is slumping to help. That's the end of the first period with the score Phoenix 30, Kansas City 21. Let's pause now for this word from your local station. Hot Rod Hundley, what is that play John McLeod has diagrammed?
That was actually a horse in the middle of the bottom of the screen with a rider on his back, a bale of hay to your right, and up at the top is our man sitting there on the fence ready to ride that horse.
Come on, spectacular bit. Cozy hits Alvan Scott as we start period number 2 in Phoenix. Kramer is 50. Goes to Robinzine, 21. The right corner is Scott, 14. Kings force a lot of turnovers. Here's Lucius Allen, 42. Missed the layup. Nash has got it back. Block shot. Lucy fouled by Washington over the top. Now on this particular play, I really felt that Lucius Allen should have passed the ball. There's the action on the rebounds after the shot. Richard Washington gets committed going after it, commits the foul, can't stop himself, but had Lucius passed the ball to McKinney, he might have had a layup. First quarter stats. Field goals, 56%. The Suns burned it up behind Paul Westphal with 12 and Walter Davis with 9. Here's the
old 18-wheeler. He drew the foul.
That's 2 in a hurry on Richard Washington.
This truck again going to the basket. This is strong suit. He's so strong for a big forward. Fake, go to his left, and then dive down the middle to draw the foul. Excellent move. He'll get 2 free throws.
Washington, the only King with 2 personals. Buse with 2 for the Suns. An 11-point Suns lead in the first half. McKinney maneuvering. Lacey again coming way out to help those guards. McKinney gets to the baseline. Missed shot, loose ball. Truck couldn't control it, and McKinney comes through the traffic with the ball. Washington off a fake. McKinney goes with Buse. But pass to Buse. Loose ball underneath. Kramer was maneuvering for the rebound that time, and Washington has picked up 3 fouls.
Here's Buse's follow-away shot. Hit by Bryson. Right over the back. Joe Kramer to get the foul, who had him screened away perfectly.
It's been a frustrating season for Richard Washington. He really has not fit in that well with Cotton Fitzsimmons' King team. He goes out now with 3 personals. Great college player at UCLA. Watts is short. Robinzine who checked in. Great defense by Scott. He'll take it back. Hot pass. Unselfish basketball. And Scott all the credit in the world.
He's got it both ends. Freddie made a great block a moment ago on the defense.
McKinney forced out. Suns are not giving up layups. Robinzine maneuvers. The left-hander's off, and it's Buse on the other side. Here comes Bratz in a foot race.
Taken down by the truck who rolls in the hook shot. The Suns are really executing right now, Brett. They're playing their game to perfection. Kansas City's going to have to try to do something to counteract here. Cotton Fitzsimmons sending 2 new players into the game. Lenny Wilkins and the Seattle Supersonics watching closely. If Phoenix wins, it'll be Phoenix, Seattle for the Western title. Lacey, offensive rebound. Robinson was on the other side, and the foul was called against Phoenix. So we've got a timeout. It's 9:38. 36-23. The Suns are in command. The purple game.
There's the play by Alvan Scott just a moment ago. Great anticipation on the steal. Recovers the ball, quickly gets it back to the guard. Bratz draws the defense to him. He has 2 men, hits the open man. Scott gets Lacey coming out, hits the open man underneath for the easy 2 points, and that is basketball, ladies and gentlemen.
22 turnovers in the first half. 13 by the Kings and 9 by the Suns as Lacey comes up to the free throw line. Phil Ford is back on the floor for Cotton Fitzsimmons. He is 1 of 5, number 1, and they must get Phil Ford back into that offense. They trail 36-24 now, 9:38 to go in the first half. If you're wondering about Westphal, 6 of 9. Not out there right now. Buse and Bratz are John McLeod's guards. Number 23 is Bratz. Yo-yoing against Lucius. Hillman is taking Tuck Robinson. Here's Davis jumping up over Wedman. Now Ford brings it to the top of the circle. Ford on the strong side. Lucius Allen's shot. Offensive rebound by Wedman. Loose. Lacey. Good pass to Hillman underneath, and there was a foul.
Undercut Robinson, but he did a good job of intimidating Lacey, believe it or not. A slam 6'11", looking good at the hoop, but he saw Bratz, so he passed it off. And then Robinson regained defensively and tried to go up for the block and was called for the foul. Hillman will get 2 free throws.
So here is Darnell Hillman. A couple of years ago, won the slam dunk competition on CBS. Dr. Dunk to go. Kramer runs it down after the missed free throw. There's the bench scoring. It has been that way throughout this series. John McLeod has used an entire team all season long. Davis cut off. Kansas City touched the ball last. They had closed off the middle. You could see on Rick, even watching carefully now, how are they going to get Ford back into this offense? How can the Kings get that game going again?
Well, right now they have a lot of problems, though. Let's go this last time down the floor. They had 4 men on the same side of the floor. They're going to have to spread it out a little bit more and give them a chance to operate.
Davis, Buck Robinson controlling, staying with it, his strength. It was Kramer on the other side.
Good pass, Buck.
Now it's Ford. 3-men clog. You can see Kings running into each other, just as Rick said. Lucius misses a shot. Darnell Hillman. So it is the muscle underneath that's keeping the Kings alive. They're not showing much finesse as they come down the floor.
Let's see Allen missing the shot, leaning in. Hillman doing a good job here in charging that offensive board. That's one way they could get back in this game. If things aren't going well outside, go to that offensive board and battle like Hillman did and get that field goal.
3-pointer came at a big time for the Kings. 40-29 and 8 minutes to go in the first half. Buse's double team. Lucius almost had a steal. Buse's got it back.
I love to watch the way the Suns pass that ball. They get double teamed. The open man gets the ball right away. That's the way you should play.
Ford is free. Jump shot, left baseline, 1 of 6. Whistle underneath. It's going against Kansas City. Give the ball to Phoenix. And this frustrating playoff series continues for Phil Ford.
One thing I enjoy about Phoenix is when the player makes the shot off of a pass, they signal each other by pointing to one another. Like, thank you very much for that pass. That's team play.
That foul against Wedman, his second so far this evening. Big doubleheader Sunday. Philadelphia, San Antonio, Atlanta, Washington. Robinzine had a spinner. Lacey out like the four, checking around it. Here's Wedman. Went back for it, and there's Lacey as it bounced free, driving to the glass. The Kings now are dominating inside. But I will point out one thing. I really believe, and Rod, I'm sure you probably agree with me, but I think this playoff series really makes Phil Ford a much better basketball player. He's learning a very valuable lesson here. I know it's probably dying inside, but he'll learn from this experience, and he'll be better next year. It's not over yet. They're fighting hard. Knocked away from Westphal, and then Ford went back down. There's traveling, and Phil Ford was calling on defense that time. Westphal doesn't believe it. He thought he was fouled and well knocked away, and he still argues with the referee on the play. One thing Cotton said all along is that this team does not quit. They work very hard for him, and that's the one thing that he's really proud about them. And they're hanging tough. They're not playing that well, but they're only down 13 down, and that's nothing in the NBA. And even if they lose this series, they've had a great year. Win the Midwest Division, set an attendance record in Kansas City. This franchise came alive, and this game is far, far from over. Short by Hillman, tapped over the Wedman. Phoenix's all-star guard pounds it down, swings around Alvan Adams, runs to him, scored, and he was fouled. But I'll tell you one thing, there are not many guards in the NBA that are going to make that play. And watch the play coming up now as Westphal makes the move all on his own, going to his left, something not that many players can do, and right there is something that very few players can do, and that is to have that great shot with the left hand.
It's been a long time since us great hook shooting guards have been around.
Keep Sunday afternoon clear on your schedule. We're going to start off with Philadelphia, San Antonio, Game 6. If San Antonio wins, they'll go to the Eastern Conference Final with George Gervin. And then the doubleheader game from Landover, Game 7, Atlanta and Washington. The amazing, the incredible, the fabulous Atlanta Hawks have pushed the world champions to the wall, just as Hot Rod Hundley predicted they would do.
Where did you play, Brent?
Here is Paul Westphal. He would have shot Patterson anywhere, hitting the free throw. In the Portland series, Jack Ramsey had a derogatory comment about Paul Westphal's defense, saying that he cheated to play offense. Through the basket, and it was 45-31. Ramsey did not mean any harm by the comment. Davis had it knocked free, back to Alvan Adams. He shoots it down. Here's Alvan Adams, that last play. Well, we'll try to bring that up later if we can, but it was good anticipation on his part. Came down the floor slow, got it in the middle, got the ball back. At any rate, Rick and Hot Rod, Jack Ramsey apologized after that three-game series. Birdsong moving in was fouled. Here's that play we just mentioned. Here's Alvan Adams. He's watching what's going on. Very heads-up move. Sees the ball bounce away. He's in the right place at the right time. Makes a little fake and frees the defense. 2 points, his first 2 of the game.
Been a long time. That's been a drought for him, but he's normally a high-scoring.
But Rick, when a team plays as well together on defense as the Suns do, can they allow Westphal to cheat a step or two to break down on offense?
Well, there's no question about it. Everybody's there helping one another out. That's one of the ideal situations with a team defense. You can cheat and do things on defense because you know your teammates are behind you to help out. But what Paul does when he makes those gambles is he will go back and recover and be in position to do something else defensively.
So I better help him if they go because he's gone anyway.
And there he is, sitting to the right side. Westphal was 17 first half in Phoenix. 5:48. Jumped back to Ford by Birdsong. Frustrations continue. Offensive rebound. Hillman fouled as he powered up to the glass.
That last play is a perfect example of a team defense situation. When the drive was coming from the opposite side of the floor, Buse ran into the middle to shut the drive off the double team. Otis Birdsong, who threw the ball outside, and the jump shot was missed, and Buse was hustling back over even on that play.
Third returns because Chuck Robinson picked up his third foul.
That's the play I was going to talk about. He took his third foul on that play, and they're in the penalty. Look at the three guards on Mr. Hillman. Those are the old variety. George Mikan brought those in.
play this one with 5:38. It is 49-33. Suns over the Kings. Bird gives it up to Bratz. Brings it down now for John McLeod, who leaked his series 3-1 after turning in their best record ever in the regular season, 15-32. Davis wanted Westphal. Watch ran it down in the corner. Adams on the turnaround with 3 seconds left on the shot clock. Ford checks to the right and cut over just in time. Davis came over the top and fouled it.
This simple play here, Ford just trying to maneuver down the middle, and Davis just crossed over. The feet got tangled up, and Davis with a little bigger foot called for the foul. And penalty again, so at the line will be 4 for 2.
On the floor right now for the Suns, Davis, Westphal, Adams, Hurd, and Bratz. For the Kings, Birdsong and Ford, Hillman, Lacey, and Wedman. Missed the penalty, and Bratz with the rebound for the Suns. Wants Westphal. Davis. Pass to the other corner, and Westphal ran to the spot. That's great setup. Penetration by Davis. And that opened Westphal up in the corner, wide open, and Wortley got him for the jump shot. Birdsong doesn't get the roll. Hillman tries to keep it in play. Stays with it. Still can't get the basket. He's done everything else but score. And he draws the foul.
Really old jumping jack in there on that play. Hillman really going back up 2 or 3 times. Going back up quickly. Put the ball to the floor. This time he goes right back after it. That's just fine hustle. Looked like he may have traveled first, but he gets credit. And he'll be at the free throw line.
Can you imagine how good Darnell Hillman would be if he can hit his shot more frequently? And that's all he lacks. He plays with strength and speed, just not a good shooter. First half, and on the strength of that Hillman free throw, it's 51-37. Westphal, 19. Davis, 11. Buse, 4. Davis, now with 13. Hillman is short. Wedman to the offensive rebound, a chance for the three-pointer. Wedman got his position inside on Garfield Hurd. Hurd came up over the top. There's the play again. Hurd on the man shooting the ball. Hillman comes back inside. Good position that time by Wedman. Hurd reached in, picked up the foul. Walter Davis allowing Scott Wedman to get inside position that time. Phoenix just one victory away from Seattle and a Western Conference final. 53-40. Suns at the 4:10 mark, first half. Bird goes to the left, Bratz. 6 points off the bench for Bratz. 4 by Truck Robinson, 4 by Kramer, and a field goal by Scott. Hillman with 8 is sparking the Kings. And again it's Darnell. Missing the shot, but power of strength off the glass. Lead to the corner, and Davis comes into the middle, spins the pass to Hurd. Taken down by Wedman, and there was a loose ball. A good play by Wedman. He had him screened up the boards perfectly on the play. And Kramer, in his anxiety to get to the ball, came over. Look at that pirouetting move by Davis. Here's the missed shot. And up to the rebound, Wedman. Kramer over his back for the foul. Alvan Scott checks in.
He has played great ball in relief, Alvan Scott. He really got him moving in that first quarter. He's right back in. Scotty adds the free throw. Gus Gerard, number 22, checks in for Cotton Fitzsimmons.
Wedman out of Colorado in the Big 8. 55-42. Wedman with 11. Birdsong with 11. And Phil Ford with 1 field goal and 1 free throw. Here's Scott from the corner. Kramer. Free ball knocked out of bounds. Phoenix keeps possession. Fitzsimmons down on his right knee.
The ball's released. Whoa.
Got a foul here on Birdsong before after the pass came about. So in the penalty, so there'll be 2 free throws for Westphal. John McLeod looks on.
Here's Westphal shooting for a 20-point first half tonight in Phoenix. And with the victory, it's the big battle next for John McLeod.
Where are all those clouds close over there on the bench?
At 3:10. Lucius Allen. Double team. Forced the back pass, and here's Bratz. Open man on the other side. Bratz goes for the shot. McLeod wants it again. Here's the trap. They come right at Lucius Allen, Rick, with that trap defense. Birdsong taken down by Hurd. Lead now for Bratz, the open man. Westphal, and he's fouled. 23. Super play. That was keyed again by Bratz. Here's the play. Bratz with a perfect pass. Watch Westphal really turn it on. The defensive man is there. He blows right by him and softly puts it away, and he's fouled on the play. Here's the play again. And here's the man that started it for him. Sees the ball come off, the good rebound. Quickly gets the ball out to start the fast break. Hurd, the man responsible for getting that play out.
So Mike, Bratz has really been a figure here for the Phoenix Suns. And being from Stanford, not only a fine player, but a very erudite young man.
While we were away, Rick Barry, you made a comment about John McLeod.
I think that it was a very smart move on his part. All during the game, you never saw the Phoenix defense come out and trap. He had the game in fairly good control. All of a sudden, he threw the trap on him 2 times in a row. It caused 2 turnovers, 2 quick baskets, and it's helped open up a 19-point lead for his Phoenix Suns. It's kind of caught Kansas City unaware, it seemed.
And now, Rick, Cotton Fitzsimmons has countered by taking out Lucius Allen. Ford and Birdsong are on the floor. Lucius was the guard that they sent the trap after both times.
Westphal with that free throw has 24 points. His season high, or his game high in this playoff is 36. And we're in the first half.
You hate to see a great athlete like Phil Ford going to a slump like this. Gerard battling Hurd, and Gar Hurd is fouled in that backcourt. Hurd has had a tough series so far. 9 of 12 in game 4.
See, Gus Gerard fumbled the ball. Then when Hurd picks it up, Gus wants that ball back and grabbed him by the arm. An obvious foul.
So far in the first half, as Hurd comes up to the free throw line after that backcourt foul, Paul Westphal is 10 of 13 from the field. He is perfect at the free throw line, 3 of 3. 2:28 left. It's a 62-point half right now for the Phoenix Suns. Make it 63.
And it's the defense that is keyed it, Brent. They are doing an outstanding job of switching men, picking up, not letting the penetration down the middle. They are really that's the main reason why Phoenix is having so much trouble, only scored 42 points.
Things come back down. Here's Ford. Looking in on Bratz. See how Bratz sloughs off? Hot Rod pointed that out early. Defy him to take the outside shot. Don't let him penetrate. Here it is. Another miss from Kramer's off. Lead now to Bratz. Bratz maneuvers inside and drew the foul. What a first half he's had.
And see again, the defense is what did it that time. We'll see the play coming up again. The pass out to Bratz. Sees an opening, Ford's on the side of him, takes it all the way in, picks up the foul on the hit right there. But what happened is that they are shutting that middle off, forcing the outside shot. And on the last shot, Brent, I watched Phil Ford carefully. His ball is getting no rotation whatsoever. And when you're shooting a knuckleball up there, it means you are not shooting the ball properly.
Now, Lloyd Wilhelm must pick up. Floyd would have shot it and it would have gone in.
Indeed. Your man, Mike Bratz, is a third-round draft choice.
He has helped this club, and ironically, he got great confidence when Westphal had a bad game. Got only 2 points in the 2-point game. That gave him a lot of playing time, and he's played great.
He has scored 10 points in the first half. We've got 2 minutes to go. Phoenix has exploded for 66. Lacey comes up on guard. Offensive rebound by Gerard, and there's a foul as he muscled for the ball. Gerard had played for Cotton Fitzsimmons at Buffalo. Cotton liked what he saw, and he added him to the Kansas City team. Alvan Scott, number 14. Another one of those strong reserves. Jerry Colangelo, John McLeod, and Al Bianchi have built a strong team here.
There's no question about that. And there you see Al Bianchi, I think the man who deserves a tremendous amount of credit for the success of this ball club. When he came here to join John McLeod, with those two minds working together, they have really come up with a fine basketball team.
And Colangelo gets those third-round draft choices like Bratz and Kramer. That doesn't hurt.
Bianchi, I think it's a good job as a coach because he got a lot of watching time when he was a player. He was a sub for 10 years.
I'll tell him that. He'll be upset with you. God, here's God. There's the general manager in the middle, Jerry Colangelo, out of Chicago. Went down to Illinois. He was the captain, played a lot of baseball. He was Jim Boughton's baseball teammate. On the turnover, Bratz breaks free. Birdsong, Bratz to Hurd. Oh, how did he see him?
Oh, I saw it all the way, Brent. Really, he was looking for a man. He wanted the defense to come to him. You could just tell he was going to pass the ball off.
70 points.
That's an unselfish player. You need those type on your team.
Two of us left.
Birdsong comes in. Hurd jumped up in Otis as he made his move.
Well, here's the last play again. Now watch Bratz. Watch him look to his left side. He's looking over now. He's waiting for the defense to commit and get the good angle. He's got the man out of position. Passes to Hurd. Beautiful play.
Somebody in New York wrote that no one cares about the playoffs. He should travel to Phoenix and San Antonio and Philadelphia and Seattle and Atlanta and Washington and see if anybody cares.
And West Virginia.
All your friends care, right? All right.
Right.
You must have every banquet in that state lined up now for an engagement. Do you get a standing ovation when you speak in West Virginia?
I got a standing ovation, and they asked me that same question that I always ask you. Where in Montana did you play?
The folks in Tudor think you're going good. It's 70 to 46. That's the time left in the second period as Phoenix turns it loose in Game 5. Here he is, Westphal giving it back inside Forrest. Yanked down by Gerard. As Coach
Oh, a jump. They called a jump. Oh, Gus cannot believe that one. That's a tough call. Looked like he got it for both sides. Here's the play. Forrest missing a roll shot. Kramer almost tipped it in. Now watch Gus come out of there with his ball. Spinning away. Right here. A little arm wrestling. They knock it free and call a jump.
Oh, there was a foul and no call. Bratz destroyed Phil. Scott's ball knocked out of bounds by Lacey. Phoenix keeps control.
That time Alvan Scott tried to be too oneself. He tried to force the ball inside. He had a good jump shot. He should have taken the shot.
So 33 seconds left. And Tim Ryan will have highlights as Atlanta stays alive and forces a 7th game, which we will have as the second game of our doubleheader on Sunday, following Philadelphia and San Antonio, as Westphal obviously brings the clock down and then made a terrible pass.
They're trying to run a backdoor sucker play for the big man, but Paul made an error.
Birdsong, far right, comes inside Westy. Westy releases. Bratz has got it. Westphal breaks free. They give it to Westphal, who throws it up. And we have come to the end of the first half. A standing ovation for the Suns, who explode for 70 points. And you'll watch Philadelphia stay alive and Atlanta explode coming up. And that's what the Kings turned in the first half. Let's go to Rick Barry and Cotton Fitzsimmons.
Cotton, to say you're in a tough situation certainly is an understatement. What do you tell your players in a situation like this?
Well, I think first of all, just try to settle them down. We're trying to push the ball down the floor, Rick, but pushing it down the floor doesn't mean you should turn it over. You should still work and get a good shot off of it. And I think this is where our young players were a little frustrated by the defense of Phoenix. I think they forced the turnovers on us and then killed us on the other end.
Well, you mentioned also that you really don't have the most experienced players in the world as far as playoffs are concerned.
No, only two of the starters have been in the playoffs, Scott Wedman and Sam Lacey, and I think we're paying a price for it right now, but they play these games in two halves, and this one's not over yet.
Well, you've got a tough hole to dig yourself out of. I noticed one situation that you had a problem as far as your offensive execution. They've been switching everything when you're making crosses, and your players don't seem to be adjusting well to that.
Well, we're not, and you know, one of the reasons I think is inexperience, and we're just not used to the playoff action, and as I say, I'm anxious to see how we play in the second half when we're behind this far.
Well, Cotton, thanks a lot, and good luck in the second half. Let's go to Rod Hundley with John McLeod.
Well, John, I know that you'd be the number one person to say she ain't over yet, even though you got a 24-point lead here at halftime.
Rod, as you know, there's 24 minutes left, and a lot of things can happen. We've seen ourselves a lot of leads dissipated by careless play. I don't think we'll let up tonight, though.
You had 18 assists as a team in the first half to only 5 by Kansas City. You're playing probably at your best right now.
Rod, we're playing well. We need to seal off the offensive board. They had 16. That's way too many, but we are passing the ball, looking for the open man, and that's effective team basketball.
I bet you must think Paul Westphal probably is the number one guard in the league.
He's a heck of a guard, I'll say that.
He had a great first half.
Yeah, he did. He has struggled a little bit in this series, Rod, but in this game he's played very, very well.
How about Truck Robinson? I know that the fans around the country are concerned about Truck. Is he back to being in top shape as a player?
Say, Rod, that he's 100%. It's just a matter of receiving more playing time.
Okay, John, good luck. All right, we'll go back to you, Brent.
All right, Hot Rod, and we've got those halftime numbers. There's that atrocious 28% shooting in the first half by the Kings, 54 for the Suns. Now, John McLeod mentioned offensive rebounds, and it's true. Kansas City has 16, and 7 of those are turned in by Darnell Hillman, but yet he shot only 2 of 8, so he was unable to convert that many of them after he pulled it back down. Robinzine is 0 of 1, Wedman 3 of 7, Lacey 0 of 3, Birdsong 4 of 9, Ford 1 of 8, Hillman 2 of 8, McKinney 1 of 2, Nash 1 of 4, Alvan 0 of 3, and Washington 1 of 1. So put quite simply, as Rick Berry found out, it will be interesting to see how the young Kings respond now in the second half against the Suns, who bring it down. Westphal, he was the high man with 24, goes to Adams, who is looking in. Look at a little mismatch outside. Phil stayed right with him. Knocked out of bounds, and it goes to Kansas City. Rick, is it possible to have too big a lead at halftime?
Sometimes it is, Brent. I don't really think that any lead is totally secure in the NBA until you get to a certain point when it's impossible virtually by scoring a basket every time down the floor to win the ball game.
Well, we'll see what kind of intensity the Suns have left after that 70-point eruption early in this game. Robinzine misfired, loose ball. It's Birdsong. Otis is off and Hurd to the rebound. Outlet to Westphal. Ford is there. No easy layup for Westy that time. Jump pass from Davis. Adams runs it down. Here's Adam Miles in the last play where Sam Lacey reached in, was able to knock it away. Adams quickly gets the ball. They didn't get out quick enough on him. That's 2 for Alvan. Turn it over. McKinney misfire on a dribble as they go to set the play up.
Cotton shouldn't give the referee the ball. Take it with him and get out of here.
17 turnovers so far for Kansas City. Buse maneuvers. An offensive rebound blocked by Lacey. Robinzine was off to Wedman, who hits Birdsong. Otis missing, another offensive rebound. Robinzine missed the shot, stayed with it.
Well, before, Alvan Adams gave Lacey his best Friday night fake, but it didn't go for it. And he went right up and it was blocked down by Big Sam.
Robinzine's first points of the game. Hit by Robinzine, forced the turnover, went to Birdsong. Ford's in the middle. Pull up outside, still short. And again, another offensive rebound is Wedman. If they keep hustling, they can inch back.
Well, he shows you, as Cotton said, they just don't quit. They're battling all the time, and John McLeod doesn't like the way his team is playing right now, and he's called a timeout.
So McLeod will bring the Suns over, and if they win this game, it'll be Phoenix and Seattle for the championship of the West. Meanwhile, we've got Game 7 Atlanta-Washington Sunday.
Brent, if there's one statistic to point out, I think that's really telling something. Assists, 18 for Phoenix, only 5 for Kansas City, and most that you would say they missed a lot of shots, but they haven't come off a pass. It's been a lot of one-on-one action.
Loose ball, Ford dives for it. Kansas City's got it. Here's Wedman dishing the pass to Birdsong. So he was fouled as he came in. He'll come to the free throw line. It's against Alvan Adams.
Here we take a play back. Wedman with the basketball, driving down the middle, passing off to the right side, going to the hoop was Birdsong, just leaning in, and there was Adams to get the foul.
Now, I would say one thing. If that was the Phoenix team, that ball would have gone right back to the man who threw it, and he would have had a layup. In that situation, Otis looked to score rather than make the quick pass because the defensive man, Adams, had committed himself, and Wedman could have had an easy layup.
3 fouls on Adams, and for Birdsong, he has scored 14. He's high for the Kings. Wedman with 13. Hillman scored 8 when he came off the bench.
One thing that Buse has been doing in this ball game, and he did it a moment ago defensively for Phoenix, he's been stopping the outlet pass and putting pressure on the ball right at midcourt. That's the way to stop that break.
Adams comes out high. Phoenix takes its time running this play. Shot clock is inside at 10. Davis double team Wedman. Great play by Scotty. Puts it down. Man on the left. Tried to get it at him too late. He lost control. He was tied up. Westphal from behind the back. Here's Buse open. Oh, Lacey should have had control. He hammered the ball rather than yanking it down that time. Davis waits. Hurd on his move inside. There was a foul against Robinzine. That's 2. Phil Ford with Buse. Robinzine gambled and Hurd went inside of him.
A smart play. He had everybody thinking he was going to go to the right, and they just opened the door up. Here's Hurd. See his man leaving completely, and Hurd saw daylight. Phil Ford, his smallest man on the court, made contact right there as Hurd leaned into him to get the foul.
Graham, one thing to point out, what happened on that play is Phil Ford actually had lost sight of the basketball. That's something you should never do defensively. He had no idea that Hurd was coming. When he turned back around to look for the ball, Hurd was already committed to the drive, and he had nothing to do but to pick up the foul.
9 points for Gar Hurd, 74-51. Phoenix. A victory away from a date against Seattle. Robinzine on the turnaround. He scored 4 third period with scoreless first half. Westphal with that left-handed dribble and then spin to the right side.
That's a phenomenal shot. Go to your left and do a complete corkscrew turn to the right and go straight up and hit a shot. Off balance, still got the hoop.
Buse went over to help out on Birdsong, but Otis out of Houston put it away anyway. Pass is out in front of Davis. It'll go to Kansas City on the turnover, and there's Walter.
Giving back his billfold there, Davis. Look at his pass. Right there. Put a lot of spin on him that came up off the floor. And the ball skipped out of bounds as Davis chased him right into the crowd.
Wedman hands it back to Phil. Lacey's out the screen, gets the ball. Wedman's pass inside to Ford. Didn't go to the layup, but on the penetration, they get right.
They got a break that time. That pass was not actually meant for the man the ball wound up going to.
Now it's Westphal with a right-handed dribble and dished the pass off to Buse. Davis is lobbed for Buse. It's the layup, and it was Robinzine coming over on defense. Now it's Ford. Lead pass to Birdsong. Alvan Adams coming over behind him. That is 4 on Adams.
That's twice that Phil Ford has made good plays here back-to-back. Last time he got the assist. This time he made a perfect feed to the right side. Here's the break. Ford down the middle. Adams the only man back. And in right timing right there, going to the right side, in for the shot to draw the foul. As Adams blocked Birdsong down on the play.
On that to point out, probably from a little educational standpoint, one more dribble that time by Phil Ford, and Alvan Adams has got to commit himself a little more. His man he passed to would have a little better angle and a chance to go right to the hoop without Alvan having a chance to block the shot.
And you would have had it go right in for a layup, Rick.
I wondered what happened to Joey, the cameraman. Could you believe he went out to get a hot dog in the middle of this game? All right, another 3-on-3 next Sunday. That's coming up. Rick, did you play in 3-on-3 this time?
No, my schedule didn't permit it. I played the year before, but it's a very good format, a lot of fun, and
his schedule didn't permit it, Hot Rod?
that's what I said.
Had they scheduled it a couple of days after the Atlanta series, he'd have been there.
He's meeting with his bankers in Houston.
I would like to play one time a 3-on-3 and have you guard me, Brent.
Gee, I can't work it into my schedule. All right. Here's Otis at the free throw line. 76-58. We got all our cameramen back from the concession stand. Robinzine is blocked as he came up, and there was a foul. Hurd. That's 4 on Hurd and 4 on Adams.
We said it before, this team does not quit. You have to give them a lot of credit. They're really battling hard, going to the boards, putting a little heat on Phoenix. Phoenix still in control.
Here's Chuck Robinson. He replaces Hurd, who goes out. Alvan Adams is out right now, and Kramer is on the floor. Seeing Robinzine reminds me that his coach at DePaul, Ray Meyer, will be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame next week, along with Pete Newell and also Jim Enright, who was a great official out of the Midwest, Wilt Chamberlain. And Hot Rod, are you going to that banquet?
I'm going to stop by and be the master of ceremony.
You'll do a heck of a job. What a group that is going to be inducted. Springfield, Massachusetts. Buse. Slowed up by Robinzine, and then hustled back to his position. Kramer comes out to meet the ball. Lacey on him. They go inside, and Nash, too carefully guarding Walter Davis that time. 2 fouls on Bob Nash. He's 6'8", out of Hawaii. No one on Kansas City with 4 fouls. Ford with 3, Washington with 3. Boy, they're really pressuring now. Westphal gets free, and Birdsong runs it down in the corner.
Westphal moves as well as any guard in the league without the basketball for a great score.
Birdsong comes up.
That's the best. I think they moved the basketball the entire game right there, Brendan. Phoenix defense seems to be slacking off just a little bit.
Davis goes one-on-one and draws the foul. Coming the length of the floor. He's like Bambo when he gets loose.
The old Greyhound. He just turns it on here, coming down that right side. Nash riding him all the way, and up goes Walt, grabbing by the arm for the foul. One thing you got to avoid, when you're at halftime, you're up 24, you know the other team's going to make a run at you. Hopefully, it's not all the way down to 10 or less by the end of that third quarter.
The old Greyhound, you call him. Bill King used to call me the Greyhound when I was that age.
That's right, when you were that age.
Just calls me the old hound now.
Ford yo-yos. Nash sends it back to Phil. Takes Buse inside, and again he's cut off. Buse comes at him from the side. That time, Phil has daylight. Offensive rebound by Big Sam. Kings are hustling. Robinzine traveled. No basket.
Yeah, one thing Rick's made a point about Phil Ford's rotation on his shot. He seems to shoot them all that way, though. Very, very little rotation.
That's why he's not a very good shooter. He's very inconsistent.
You watch some of these good defensive players in the NBA. There was a whistle as Davis was swinging free at Nash.
There's a little word there between
He's going to
watch the play right there.
separating him. And Birdsong's being pushed away. Here's Otis. Now Otis coming back to Westphal. Davis. They're still yapping away.
A little bit of frustration, I think, on Otis's part.
Bianchi is up. I think he's saying, Cotton, I get you.
Yeah. I'll take you, little guy, down low and wear you out.
You know, they got to be careful of John McLeod. He was a pretty good amateur fighter in his day. He whipped just about anybody out here. Jump pass to the corner by Birdsong. Out of bounds. Phoenix touched it. His two sons go after the ball. Buse there gives it up, and it'll go to Kansas City. Lacey will inbound. 79-61 at 5:12. Birdsong is short. Nash missed the follow. Davis puts it down. Two Kings slow him up. Robinson moved it and forward to the steal up over the table.
There's the play again right there. Great anticipation. Just a little bit too slow getting there, but look at him hustle trying to get that ball. That's why Cotton Fitzsimmons loves him as a player.
He ran the hurdles when he was in North Carolina when he went over that bench.
10 seconds on the shot clock when the foul is called. It's against Sam Lacey.
Here's the play right here as he makes the bounce pass. Sam right there reaches in, commits the foul. Phil Ford was in there to try and help. Kansas City being much more aggressive defensively here.
We got 4 minutes and 53 seconds left in the quarter, and they're over the limit. Penalty, so Kramer gets 2 free throws.
Joel Kramer, rookie out of San Diego State, 6'7", 200-pounder. It's 81-61. Birdsong's pass to Nash is handed. Buse moves it quickly to the right. Westphal had gone underneath, and they were with him all the way. Otis Birdsong and Paul Westphal are dueling. Robinzine is free.
Now that's what Cotton Fitzsimmons wanted them to do a little more of in the first half.
Birdsong is possessed right now against Westphal. 26 for Paul. Offensive foul. It'll go over to Kansas City.
Hey, when Truck runs over you, he goes over you. That's his sport.
Here's Alvan Scott replacing Walter Davis.
Bratz is back here. He had a great first half. 4 out of 6 from the field in 15 minutes. He had 2 for 3 from the free throw line and 4 assists.
Nash to the offensive rebound. Off to Buse in the middle. 3-on-1. Scott missed the slam dunk.
That baby spun out here. Thought it was going out of the building. Watch it come out here. There's a pass for Buse. Watch Alvan Scott going there. They can duck all the way. Over. And slam it. And that ball ricochet clear out to the left side of the basket and up into the stands. He was in the air.
They call air traffic control on that one.
Scott Wedman and Billy McKinney in for KC.
John McLeod was a little upset. He got off the bench very quickly, as did Al Bianchi and Walter Davis. They thought that Bob Nash should not have gone in there to make contact on Alvan Scott. You can hurt a man very badly when he's in the air like that. He's totally helpless.
Go back. Okay, go back.
85-65. 3:52 in the third. McKinney operates with Otis Birdsong. Birdsong was 6 here in the third period so far. They move it to Wedman. Turns on Scott. And Robinson. No easy basket for Buse, and it goes to Scott. He dishes to Bratz.
Oh, a great pass miss, but he started the whole play defensively. He intimidated Wedman, who was in close, went up with him, and that enabled the Suns to get the rebound in the name of Robinson, and then he made a beautiful pass. So Alvan Scott having a great game.
Scott is overplaying Wedman underneath right now. Got in behind him. Run down by McKinney. Here's Wedman. They're trying to deny him the ball. He came around after missing the shot. Over in behind Truck Robinson. Fouled him.
Westphal back in.
Westphal with 24 in the first half, 2 in the third, and Darnell Hillman checks in for the Kings.
On that foul by Wedman, he came right over the back of Truck jump. He's so big and strong, he just held the man away and had to rebound without any trouble.
4 for the Truck. Out of Tennessee State.
He wears a little truck around his neck on that necklace.
His former team, the Washington Bullets, will take on Atlanta in Game 7, our doubleheader game, Sunday afternoon.
That's his former
team. Atlanta, New Orleans, and then Phoenix. Is that right? All right. Birdsong waits. Bratz slows it down. Phoenix taking its time. Now he comes up with some pressure on McKinney. Well, we're going to have a timeout. John McLeod, now Bianchi, will huddle up with Phoenix Suns. And Cotton Fitzsimmons checks that scoreboard, 89-67.
McCann, you got to get them together. Tell them about it. Come on, Cagney.
It'll start off with Philadelphia hosting San Antonio. That's Game 6. The Doctor, Julius Erving, turned in a superb game at guard to keep the 76ers alive. George Gervin and the Spurs trying to wrap up that semifinal in the East. And then our doubleheader game. We will be in Landover, Maryland for Game 7, Washington and Atlanta. Let's see, the Hawks have won 2 straight now. Is that right? 1 in Landover and 1 back home.
They've beaten them twice at Washington. Looking for 3 in a row. Here's a place. Scott dropped the ball into Mike Bratz on the left side. He went and faked. Went up right there. Contact made.
So here's Billy McKinney. Played his college ball at Northwestern. It's knocked free and Bratz in for the layup on that front scoring. 91-67 with Bratz tossing in 14 points. For you fans in Seattle, if Phoenix wraps it up here tonight, it will be Seattle-Phoenix in Seattle Tuesday night in the Coliseum. Friday night, Kingdom. Kansas City says, quit giving that schedule out. We aren't quitting. Sam Kinney, right to the Sam. Kramer was there. Foul against Kramer.
He tried to duck one a moment ago, Lacey, and he jumped a little bit too far out. I never got it up there. Here's little Billy, the southpaw at Northwestern. Shot no good, and on the rebound, we got the foul.
Well, you take a look at the last game, 108-94, Phoenix in Kansas City. That was the tip-off. Phoenix 108, Kansas City 93, with McLeod and Al Bianchi looking on. Go ahead. Here's Lacey. Wedman turns on Scott, the rebound. Puck outlet now to Westphal. Westphal, the Bratz knocked away.
Here's the play here as Westphal comes up the floor, tries to make a good pass, a bounce pass in that situation. The ball was kicked out of bounds that time by McKinney.
It's like a little something to drink, Mr. Barry. They brought this big bottle back. It's kind of serve your own here. A soft drink. There you go.
You got to hold it with both hands.
Don't turn that in on your expense account, how about it? It was free.
Well, let's go.
1:07 to go in the third. It's 91-67. And Bratz will come up to the line. Let's see. We've got Richard Washington coming in, and Lacey will go out. There's Richard. There's going to be another fine UCLA player coming into the NBA next year, David Greenwood. Look for him to go high. What did Boston and Larry Bird call off negotiations for a while? Is that the last you heard about that, Rod?
Right. The Lakers may go for him. If not, I think Magic Johnson, and then watch the Knicks maybe go for Kelser from Michigan State for that third pick.
Or possibly Greenwood. One thing Greenwood can do is make a quick move close to the basket, Rick. He's tough down there. Here's McKinney going back to Scotty Wedman. Off to the, nice rebound underneath again by Hillman. He just powers one rebound after another. Birdsong, all-star guard.
One of those players that has that great ability to be able to knife in between the defense, go to the basket, be able to shoot it. Westphal does that well. Fred Brown is incredible doing that.
Buck scoops it back. Open man is Bratz. Scott missed his jump for the offensive rebound.
Bratz is going for the field house record.
Time in the third, down in the middle of your screen, and McKinney will run it on down for the last shot.
That might not be the last one.
I don't think it is. 5 seconds, time. Westphal says, I'll give you the last shot.
There you go. So never take that shot very quickly. Go to work with it. Take a move. Pass and cut, but don't take the shot with 10 seconds.
In the third period, the Phoenix Suns dominating Kansas City 95-69. Now, let's pause for this word from your local station. Okay, this one's been a blowout so far, but what about Sunday, Hot Rod? Philadelphia, San Antonio, followed by Atlanta, Washington.
Should be great because the Philadelphia 76ers won at San Antonio the last game. They avoided being wiped out 4-1, so it should be a great game. And that second game, Atlanta, Washington, I think it'll go right to the wire.
Here's the turnaround by Washington, and he put it down, 95-71. Rick, neither you nor Hot Rod are surprised about Atlanta's performance in the playoffs.
Well, no question about it. They're very tough against us, and they have the rebounding power and strength to stay with Washington on the boards, and that's been a big factor for them.
On the turnover, and there was a foul, loose ball against Bratz, number 23, so it'll go to the Kings out of bounds back here. We've got the shooting in the third period. Look at that field goal percentage again, 51-30. McKinney, Allen, Hillman, Wedman, and Washington on the floor for Cotton right now. You know, it's a shame to see them go out like this. With the kind of season they've had, this doesn't reflect how they played this year.
No question about that, Brett. It's one of those games where the ball is not going in the basket for anyone. You have those situations where maybe 1-2 players are off, but the whole team is off, and that's very unusual and very inopportune time.
Westphal to Davis. Allen goes with it. Artistry failed that time.
This guy hit that one a little harder over his head. Westphal, he would have had him in stride for a layup.
Offensive rebound by you-know-who, and he almost missed that one. Hillman. He must have been unbelievable in the schoolyard. One rebound after another, never shoot. Bratz colliding with Hillman.
That's a good move. He gave a little fake outside and cut down the middle. Got a step on the defensive man as Carter Simmons looks on. That's been a tough season for old Cotton.
He started his NBA coaching career right here in Phoenix before he went to Atlanta, into Buffalo, now at KC, and they bring in Bratz.
He said, we're a gutty bunch. We'll hang in there tough, but they're not being too tough tonight.
Warm up the team bus. Wedman around the screen. Here's Washington.
They made one good run in the third quarter, Brett. They had cut it down to 15, but then that poor shooting that they've been plagued with the entire game caught up to them and missed a couple of shots easy down the floor and back up again into the 20s.
Phoenix Phoenix taking its time. Truck, underhand finger roll, foul on the turn. Boy, Truck Robinson was extremely ill earlier this year. Good to see him coming back strong.
I was talking to him before the game. He said, I didn't even dream I'd be back playing. He said, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to walk for a while. That's how bad it was. An unknown virus infection that hobbled him for quite a while. But he said, I'm young, but I'm strong, and I just battled back. And he's out here playing and doing very well.
Strong? He's more than strong.
You have been there, right?
10 minutes. Free agent Billy McKinney. It's one of the finds by Cotton. Washington almost stolen by Davis. McKinney's got it back. From the corner, Allen misses. He was wide open. Westphal gives it to Buse. Foul against Lucius Allen.
You watch Buse really go to the basket here. Here's the pass. He took it in from the left side. Just took his momentum with him. He knew he could get fouled and threw it back over his shoulders. Contact was made. So 2 free throws for Don Buse. The Kings with 3 team fouls. Phoenix with 1.
One thing about Phoenix, Brent, regardless of the situation, ahead by 20 points, behind by 20 points, they're going to play the same way. And that's the mark of a good basketball team. They stick to what they do best.
I was here on a Sunday afternoon when the New Jersey Nets made a heck of a run at the Phoenix Suns. 18-point difference, I believe, early in the 4th period in that game. As Billy McKinney hits a pair, making a 101-77 at 9:26. But I've seen nothing here tonight.
New Jersey won that game, by the way. They came back and won it.
Right. I've seen nothing so far to indicate that Kansas City is going to make a run quite like that one. Adams looking in on Richard Washington. Comes up with the shot. Kenny moves inside of Buse. Buse avoided the foul. He'll come at you from the side. He's an outstanding defensive player. He won't necessarily face up with you all the time. Kenny. 2 for 2 for Billy McKinney out of Northwestern. For the game, he has 6. So 4 of them coming here in the last minute. Bratz will check back into the game. Robinson pulls away from Hillman. Washington with the rebound. Runs it down in the corner. McKinney again. Washington. And low now to Hillman. No sense Chogishiru. Truck Robinson was in on top of him and fouled him before he took the shot. We're going to have a timeout here in Phoenix. And the Phoenix Suns are 8 minutes and 10 seconds away from the Seattle Supersonics. We'll also have tomorrow on the CBS Sports Spectacular the World Mixed Pairs Gymnastics Championships. Gymnastics, always an excellent sport for television. And, of course, they will take you inside China for the 2nd week in a row. That's tomorrow, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Thinking about Phil Ford, Rick. Ford hit his first basket, his first shot of the night. He has not scored a field goal since. He had 1 free throw in the 2nd period, did not score in the 3rd, not on the floor right now. It has been a tough series for Phil Ford.
I guess the confidence didn't come, like I mentioned early in the ball game when he made that shot. But I still think he will be a better ball player. It's a good learning experience for him. A hard one, but a good one.
Truck sent it to Bratz. Phoenix bringing the clock down every time now. Every trip they come to 5 seconds. 3, they got to hurry. 2 seconds. In and out, they get a fresh 24, and Adams comes right back. Alvan Adams now with 8 points. Otis Birdsong is the leading scorer for Kansas City with 21. Here's McKinney sending it to the corner. Washington. Off the bench, Richard Washington with 8 points. Underhand pass now to Don Buse, who was picked up by Phoenix. from the Indiana Pacers in exchange for Ricky Sobers. On this floor, it was Ricky Sobers and Kevin Stakem who got into a fight in the championship series about 3 years ago. McKinney sends it to Wedman, rolls in a hook shot, and there's Scott Wedman. He has 15 points with Westphal, who was very much involved in that series, looking on.
Here's a man who's had a good series. Buse at both ends. Scored pretty well. Played tremendous defense.
Very underrated player. Doesn't get a lot of publicity. Robinzine coming up firing outside. Too much English. Wedman with the rebound. McKinney runs down the loose ball. Kansas City, of course, must hurry into the offense now. Take quick shots. Do whatever they can. Hillman with another miss. Buse breaks down, comes inside of McKinney, and Billy fouled him. So Don Buse with the field goal.
That's a good call. Here's Buse. He had the step on him, and McKinney just moved right into him and made the contact. Buse had the right of way all the way as he veered off to the right side and put the shot up on the run.
All right, Hot Rod with the score. Phoenix 107, Kansas City 85. Let's pause for these messages from your local stations. Hot Rod, can you believe that Rick Barry's over here in civilian clothes and he and Joe Gashu are still going at it, eyeing each other? Joe may be the first referee to ever give an announcer a tee.
He looked over and gave him his warning, and Rick gave him that stare right back.
They still make those undershirts?
I don't think they were kidding. Buse with the free throw. Lucius Allen to the attack for the Kings. Hillman off. Loose ball, you can hear Jack Madden. That's against Wedman. And Westphal returns. He has scored 28 points.
Now that surprises me, that John McCloud would take a chance of putting a player so important like Paul Westphal back into the ballgame that he really has under control, to take a chance that perhaps he might get injured. I really don't understand that.
He did it for us.
He doesn't want Buse to get hurt. You got to get Buse out there and let him rest.
He took Walter out and had Paul on the bench before.
Walter's a young guy. Westphal can play. He's okay.
That's right.
He's got McLean on the bench. He can
You
come
forget
in.
not everybody's your age, Rick.
Stop coaching.
That's true. Get off it, John. He's got nice things to say about you, big guy.
Hey, I'm just wondering why he did it.
Here's Lucius. Oh, swung away, and it's Westphal. Dishing to Bratz. Back to Bratz. Westy says, okay. That's why he did it. 30 points for Westphal. Hey, wasn't it a year ago that Kirkpatrick picked Phoenix in Sports Illustrated to win the whole thing, and Milwaukee eliminated him in the mini-series? Yeah, it was last year. Well, Curry played it safe this year. He went back to Washington and Seattle, and now look at his Phoenix Suns. They're coming on. They'll have to give him the Sonny Hill Handicapping Award of the year. That was the year Sonny picked Phoenix to finish last, and they wound up in the championship, Hot Rod, against Boston.
Remember that? Great third game, wasn't it? Triple overtime.
Fifth game. Kramer is stuffed by Hillman.
Oh, you got to shoot it, boy.
When you're leading 112-85, you might as well run it out, Hot Rod. Billy McKinney just looked over here and shook his head. It's been that kind of a night. Last two games for the Kings. Let it get away from them back home. Allen. So that's 4 points for Lucius Allen. 112-87 in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. And don't forget our doubleheader on Sunday. Philadelphia, San Antonio, followed by Atlanta, Washington. It was free. They were trying to get the ball into Scott. And it's against Gerard, 22. Here's Alvan Scott coming up now. Rick Barry has talked a lot about Phoenix's defense, and during the year, The Suns ranked 14th in the league in team defense. They allowed an average of 111 points a game, but in the playoffs, Rick is absolutely right. The Suns lead all teams. They have allowed just 98 points a game, and here they're holding Kansas City to 87 with 4:15 left.
The only reason he mentioned that is because he averaged 30 against Phoenix this year.
Here's Gerard. Puts the fake, goes through the drive. Good play by Gerard.
Also, Brent, a team like Phoenix that runs a great deal, they're going to give up a few more points during the regular season, but they're really knuckling down on defense here in the playoffs.
Give me a hook, Bayard in there. 5-footer in the lane.
You want to read that hot rod? You wanted to read one all year.
Be sure and stay tuned for the most valuable player award at the conclusion of this game. If Brent and Rick cannot make up their mind, I'll decide.
Forrest, this is the free throw. Look at that. The director, Tony Byrne, is trying to select the MVP by giving us that picture. I'm going to vote for somebody else. This was fired. Well, I'll tell you, Westphal is the only player to rank among the NBA's top 10 in both scoring and assists this year. That's the second consecutive season that Paul Westphal has earned that distinction. He is a marvelous basketball player.
There you go, trying to give a vote for Westphal.
After that shot came off of Paul, we went back to the action someplace else. Paul went by Cotton Fitzsimmons and congratulated him on a fine season. He thinks he's got this one, I believe.
He is right. Kramer swatted away.
That was a great pass by Westphal. I mean, he really threaded the needle.
Okay, Rick and Hot Rod, let's look at Phoenix now and think about the Seattle championships. Bob, what do you think?
I think it'll go 7 games.
McKinney comes down for the Kings. 3-on-2. Billy pulls it up and hits it. He's added a spark here in the fourth period.
I think it should be an excellent contest. Both teams execute exceptionally well when they slow down. Both teams like to get out and run when they get the rebound. Two very similar type teams, two well-coached ball clubs, two teams that work hard in the defense. It should be a real humdinger, as they say in the Midwest.
We'll be there next Friday night in the Kingdome for Game 2. Seattle and Phoenix. It'll get underway Tuesday night in the Coliseum. Then Friday night, according to the schedule that I have, they'll go into the Kingdome. Back in Phoenix a week from Sunday, and they'll stay in Phoenix for 2 games. We'll be right back. So Paul Westphal with 30 points, 13 of 18, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. A couple of steals he's tossed in for good measure, and he's still out there working in the backcourt with Bratz. Out of USC, went to the Boston Celtics, traded down here for Charlie Scott. An all-star the last few years, one of the best players in the NBA. Scott forces out a miss, yanked down by Gerard. Allen hands to McKinney, and here's Billy, who's still digging in and firing away for him. Lucius is to 113.95. 6 for Allen. McKinney now with 10, and Hillman with 10. Washington with 8 off the bench. Lacey wound up with only 5 points.
There's Phil Ford, and just a moment ago he had his head down, and he's going to have a very long summer to think about this season, and I think he'll come back tougher than ever.
Ford tonight was 1 of 10, and Allen missed the building.
We almost did keep that one in the building. There's old Cotton. He won't give him up. Hang right in there. He's a real competitor, and I'll say one thing about that man. He has been named the Coach of the Year on one ballot, and rightfully so. He's done a great job with this ball club.
Forrest goes back to Bratz. Kenny pumps it down with a left-hand dribble, spins, dishes, good pass. That's 6 for Nash.
Here's a stat for you wouldn't believe. And the game leaders in rebounds, assists, and steals for Phoenix and Joel Kramer in all three departments.
Here's the truck. Followed it up. Missed both. Allen's got two men. Goes to the right. Nash fakes. Short and Robinson yanks down a rebound. Forrest.
That's a fine team play. That's just what we're talking about. Could have taken a shot. Scott dished it off perfect.
And that's why they are such a good basketball team. Every player on the Phoenix Sun team looks to pass the basketball. They look for people to throw the ball to. A lot of players playing the game today, they're not looking for people. One of the greatest cop-outs of all time is say, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, but I always like to say that, yeah, well, you have to be looking first.
So the last 30 seconds of what has been a fine season for the Kansas City Kings unfolds here in Phoenix as they lose this Western Conference semifinal series to the Phoenix Suns in 5 games. But the Kings are a young team, and as Rick and Hot Rod have said throughout this game, they will be back. And now, in Phoenix, a standing ovation. Foul called.
Here's a city that when they got a franchise some 11, 12 years ago, I didn't think that pro basketball would make it here. And they've been selling out this place left and right the last couple of years.
Not only did pro basketball make it here, but it has flourished. And now the battle cry throughout this city is bring on the Seattle Supersonics. And the Seattle Supersonics will be there. And that figures to be one of the best series we've had in a long time.
There'll be 4 Donnie Brooks and 3 barn burners.
Let's go to Seattle. 120 to 99. The Phoenix Suns win the Western Conference semifinal, and our Chevrolet Most Valuable Player Award goes to Paul Westphal. The Chevrolet $1,000 scholarship will be awarded to USC on behalf of Paul Westphal, who scored 32 tonight. So, thanks now to our director, Tony Berna, and our producer, Bob Stenner, and the rest of our fine West Coast crew. And for Rick Berry and Hot Rod Hundley, this is Brent Musburger saying so long from Phoenix, but again, let me remind you, Sunday afternoon, doubleheader time. We'll start off Philadelphia, San Antonio. Philadelphia must win or the Spurs will go to the Eastern Conference Final. The second game, Game 7, Washington against Atlanta. UB Brown and Dick Mata will square off, and when it's over on Sunday afternoon, only one will be left. What an afternoon it's going to be. The NBA on CBS is a presentation of CBS Sports. So long, everybody.